Oh, it is Monday night, and we are back. It is hashtag Real Race Talk, the Revved Up Sports Show from Chile, Texas. Bobby, cities are about to close down. It's like we could tell a story here. If you're not from here, I've got a lot of folks that are coming to Texas, coming to Houston for some work stuff. And I'm like, you guys better be ready because shit's going to close down. Airports are going to be closed. HEB is going to be out of bread.
HEB's closing early.
I saw that.
Closing at 8 o'clock, opening up at 10 o'clock.
Yeah. So if you are here, if you are in Texas, and I just saw this right before we came on, I know here in Central Texas, what we're going to be dealing with is from 2 to about 5, we're actually going to have snow falling, but it's not going to warm up till like noon. So it's going to stick. So it's going to mess some stuff up. That's for sure.
Hell, I'm off tomorrow too.
Hey.
I got a text earlier. It said the office is closed. So I thought for sure we'd have a telework day since we telework a lot. And then lo and behold, got the text message. The whole place is shut down. Treat it like New Year's Day. Do not work.
Well, you know,
so I can go play in the snow tomorrow morning.
I'm going to be curious to see what actually happens around here because you never know. You never know. And now they're actually doing, and this is the way things work for you guys that are checking in around the country, probably on X is where you're checking in. If you're just catching this show, the way things work in Texas is they always miss the forecast, right? I mean, it's always doom and gloom, and then everybody's pissed off because it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, whether it's rain. The one thing they never miss is heat, because when they say 105, well, they actually do miss it, Bobby, because they say 101 and it's 105 is the way that works. But what happens around here is they tell us how bad it's gonna get, and then jack shit happens. That's the way it happens around here.
Well, first they said it's gonna get bad, then they said it wasn't gonna get quite so bad. So I think we're gonna be somewhere right in the middle. It depended on kind of like watching a video. It just depends on what you saw, anywhere from 2 inches to 5 inches. So it just came through, and I watched some of the Houston forecasts there on YouTube, and they said that there was going to be up to 8 inches in Houston on certain parts, depending on if you got caught in a snowdrift. So
yeah, my company is sending all of their executives and store managers and district managers and all this from around the country, from 9,000 some odd stores to Houston tomorrow and Wednesday.
But hell, the airport shut down tomorrow.
I know.
Hobby, both of them are shut down.
Going to be a mess.
Because they ain't got no ice equipment to de-ice the planes.
Oh, man. Well, I can tell you driving in from
don't have enough equipment to de-ice the planes.
Yeah. Driving in from Tulsa yesterday, I got into Texas. I was probably about 50 miles into Texas, and they were already putting down that, what do they call it? I don't know what it is.
The road treatment or whatever?
The stuff they treat the road with. It's coming. It's coming. So we'll see what all we get out of this on a Monday that has us blowing and going here with hashtag Real Race Talk with weather. The story as we dive in.
Real Race Talk, and we lead the show with weather.
Yeah. And it's so many different times that you talk to people around the country and you talk about this stuff that's supposed to happen, and it's like that's it. You're worried about an inch of snow. It's like, dude, you ain't never been here. It's a whole different thing over here when this stuff happens. So it's like the heat, and that's where people don't understand heat. It's like when you talk to the folks in the states up north where they're like, oh my God, it was horrible. It got up to 89. I'm like, 89? It's like that when we wake up around here in the summertime.
Hell, that's our Christmas forecast is high at 89.
Yeah. Our man Chris Smith checking in right there. And you guys feel free. Jump in right there on that audio-visual Consultations YouTube and Facebook chat line right there. It's just salt water. Yeah, I know. I mean, I know it is. I forget what they call it. I ran up on the back of that vehicle and it sprayed all over me, and I'm like, oh my God. But it wasn't that big a deal. So anyway, but but again, brace yourself, take care of the I put it in this order: pets, people, pipes, and what's the other one? Is that 3P? Plants. Take care of the plants. Put your weed inside. If you got some of that Mary Jane growing outside, get it inside, because it ain't gonna be no good after the freeze.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy. You got the and keep your they were telling the people in Houston to not open up the drains. Like you're supposed to leave it dropping, leave it dripping.
Yeah.
Apparently, if a city that big has everybody in there dripping their faucet, it's going to release the pressure of the system, and it's going to require a boil water notice because it'll release the pressure too much.
Isn't it funny? I mean, not funny, but isn't it weird? Like, I mean, I remember. I mean, I'm several years, well, enough older than you, Bobby, to kind of be in a different era than you were. But I mean, I do remember, growing up in the country, we had to drip the pipes and all that stuff. But the whole thing is, but I know things are. I don't ever remember. Number one, I never heard about a grid way back when it came to power. It just shut off. It wasn't the grid was overloaded. It just turned off. All of that different stuff. It's a whole different thing now. I mean, with boil water notices, and I don't know, man. A lot of infrastructure. It's a concrete paradise around here. I think that's a difference in all these places.
Well, the problem is, that everybody around this area in Central Texas has a lot of PTSD still from the Snowvid incident in 2021, Valentine's week. Because that's the first thing they say. It's going to snow, but it's not going to be like Snowvid in 2021.
Yeah.
Where everybody went without power and water for about 5 or 6 days in Central Texas, but about 100 miles north of Austin to about 100 miles south of Austin. So it definitely was quite the experience. I got lucky. I was on you were too. We were both on hospital grid, so we didn't lose our power. I ended up losing water for about 4 or 5 days and could take a shower for a hot minute and wasn't used to that. But
yeah,
had to sit there and boil. I lost 2 shrimp pots because of that, because we were having to boil snow water to give us water to flush the toilets. So
that was a mess. I mean, that was
my draw. My one of my drains in my shower is still clogged up from all of that years later.
Yeah, that was. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I remember from that was we upstairs at the house, we've got a big garden tub, with a whirlpool. We don't use that. I mean, it's kind of one of those things to where I've used it one time. I used it one time after I ran a marathon. I went in there because I had to get some, you just wanted to kind of get your bones kind of back in place. That's the only time that I use it. I absolutely refuse to sit and bathe in my own filth, for crying out loud, is kind of my thought on that. But so that tub hadn't been used in forever. And when all that was going on, remember, like you're saying right there, I mean, you fill the bathtub up with water just in case you needed some of that. I went up there and I filled that sumbitch all the way up. And little did I know, because we had a raccoon that had gotten into the house about 6 months before that we had to do all kinds of work up there and get stuff done. Apparently the raccoon had gotten into the tub area there and got into the pipes. So I filled the tub with water. We're sitting downstairs. It's raining through the roof. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it's like,
I remember that.
Dude, that was a nightmare. That was a nightmare. Almost as bad as the time years ago where I fell through the roof in the attic trying to do something up there. We had a leaking AC system and racked my nuts where, right between the 2x4s, coming. I fell through the roof. And the kids are laughing. Boy, I'm really glad that y'all are getting some entertainment out of this.
I'm glad they didn't, when you think of all the dumb shit that's happened to us over the course of the years, a lot of that wasn't on tape and video like it is now. So that's damn good news now.
That's the thing about it, man. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's like the story of my life. I mean, I go back and it's like, I do want to say, Lockhart people, we lost one of our good friends, Bert Trejo. Mr. Trejo, who was 121 Sunset Drive back in those Sunset rowdy days. We lost him. I was out of town. Unfortunately, couldn't be a part of that, but of his services and so forth. Much like Bobby, when we lost your dad, it's like my life on the road. It's like I'm never around for anything, and it kills me when I'm not here for things like that. But that's where I was thinking about him, because I was talking to a friend and telling stories about the crazy things that used to go on. And it's like, imagine that us growing up. I mean, if there would have been cell phone video or I mean, just anything, audio, just anything. I mean, it's crazy back in those days. Or a lot of that stuff is better unseen and unheard from those crazy days.
I know, it's so crazy. The new millennials and stuff like that, those new kids almost had to start reading the back of the spray cans they're the aerosol smell good cans in the bathroom because they didn't have TikTok to use for about 12 hours. So
Oh,
that
oh my God.
they were like, oh my God, what do we do now in the bathroom? Well, you
Yeah.
grab either take yourself a magazine, which nobody has nowadays,
Oh,
or just read the back of an aerosol can or a shampoo bottle because that's all the reading material you gonna get.
yeah, yeah, and that was the other thing over the weekend when that was going on. I'm like, I was watching TV, and we will talk racing here at some point. We're 14 minutes in, and hell, we ain't even close to it. But it was like I was watching this report on the news, and I sound like an old guy. This report, there was something on the news where they were talking to a girl, and they're in Oklahoma. Obviously, I spent the week in Oklahoma, and she's like, well, yeah, she's got 58,000 followers or whatever they call them on that app, and she's going on and on. She's like, oh, well, I'll probably try to find another app. She's naming off all these things, Bobby, about what she might do. Maybe I'll do this or maybe I'll do that. And right at the very end of it, she's like, if it all comes down to it, I may have to get a 9 to 5. I'm like, no, what? You might have to go to work?
I know.
Holy shit. And I'm like,
I thought she was gonna say in the news she might have to get one of those propeller fans accounts, propellers only accounts.
oh yeah, exactly. Well, no, this one, I don't know about that, but that's the weird thing about it, where it's like these folks. Can you imagine that? I mean, you go walking out, you go rolling up, and you're an influencer or whatever they call it. We're content creators, so you and I, we actually have a title towards, like, people are like, "What do you do?" We create content. Content may not be worth a shit, but we create content.
Yeah, opinions vary.
You go rolling up, and the boss man or lady is like, so what do you do? I mean, what are you good at? I'm good at making videos. Come on, man. It's like
Short videos.
Short videos, and I'm making an ass out of myself is what those people are doing. But I guess it's back, right? So they brought it back.
It was gone for overnight, I think, and they finally brought it back.
Oh my Lord.
Except for the people that deleted it. Apparently, if you deleted it, you can't get it back. Or I don't know. I don't have one, so I don't really keep up with it. I only know one person in our text group that's got one. So obviously, the better half is on hers all the time. So whatever. It is what it is.
Now, that guy that you're talking about in that text group, I don't know what he's going to do to pass the time, because I swear that's all he does. I'm like, dude, get off of there. And this is a very talented guy. And I'm like, dude, is that all you do? Coin toss time. What are you talking about?
Oh, the football game.
There is a game. Can I just say that when we talk IndyCar, like when we talk about IndyCar, and again, I think if you don't have a rooting interest in this contest tonight, that's a big part of it, which I do have a rooting interest because I got to talk about it. But it's like this whole window of time that we've had where college football was on this major surge and everything was happening. And now it's like we're done. And it's like, oh, yeah, here's this. And here's this. So I'm going to be curious to see what happens here tonight, because I was talking about this morning, Bobby, and I'd love your thoughts on this. And again, we'll talk racing here at some point, but this is the Revved Up Sports Show. This game tonight is either going to do one of two things for me. Number one, it's going to prove that the playoff system sucks because Ohio State's going to run these guys out of the gym. Or number two, it's going to be this playoff system is amazing because a team that brought themselves up from getting destroyed or getting beat by nobody pull themselves up, and here they are. They're going to be the national champions. I think it's going to be the former more than anything. I really think Ohio State's going to beat the shit out of these guys here today.
Well, the problem is if you go back and look, other than the Kansas City Chiefs and the referees, Kansas City is the only bye team in football, whether it be college or the NFL, that actually won their game.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, Georgia lost on the bye. Arizona State lost on the bye. They all lost. Detroit lost on the bye. Like everybody except for Kansas City and the referees ended up losing their game. So, and I say that because don't get me started on the Patrick Mahomes thing. I'm on that Patrick Mahomes gets special treatments bandwagon after watching that game against the Texans. The Texans hurt themselves. I'm a Texan fan. The Texans hurt themselves, but man, some of them calls, I couldn't believe it. But back to the CFP National Championship. I think the problem is the way that they had everybody seated. They don't seed it like a normal tournament. So I think that's the way that just the way everything shook out, where you had, the number 1 seed didn't end up playing the number 12 seed and stuff like that. So they were seated kind of weird. Don't worry, it'll be fine. They'll get to 16 here in 2 years. But did you notice the national championship rings have ESPN on them?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, the national championship rings have ESPN at the bottom on the front face of the ring.
Well, they're a partner in this, and I mean a lot of what you're doing right
Partner
here.
my ass, they're driving the whole bus.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, that's part of that right there, where this is all being set up. I mean, that is the thing. I mean, it's going to be 16 teams, and I mean that there needs to be some tweaking, and I saw, there have been a couple of good games in this playoff. I mean, involving Texas. I mean, I happen to think that the Ohio State Texas game was probably the national championship game, because I mean, I love the Notre Dame story. It's very odd for me to see Notre Dame being embraced by many, where usually they are like, the most evil whatever. But
Well, they're playing Ohio State, and it's always a good day when Ohio State loses.
Well, and I think the whole thing is, I mean, the Notre Dame's got a really likable coach. I mean, it's a young dude, it's a good-looking dude. I mean, it's a guy that can make love to the camera whether he chooses to or not. And I think that's something that's going to bode really well for them. But I don't know. I just hope this thing tonight is a good game, because I think at the end of this
if it's an ass whooping like the Rose Bowl or the Tennessee game, it's not going to be fun. Everybody's going to be like, But you can't say this year that the team didn't belong, because they won their way to the final.
That's it.
So that's the difference between this year and all the other years. Oh, well, this team didn't belong because they got boat raced at the end. But no, they actually ended up winning games to get to the final. So we'll have to see. I mean, it's always a good day when Ohio State loses, but I'm not necessarily a Notre Dame fan either.
Yeah. Tim, that'll be the last straw for me. There are a lot of reasons that I try to jump off the Dallas Cowboy bandwagon. But I mean, that right there, it's going, and it may work out. I mean, I may regret saying that if he comes in and turns it into a winner or whatever, but it'll continue to be the clown show that is the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that right there, if Jerry makes that move, and if he makes that call, because I know that Prime is going to take that job, if he gets that phone call, I don't care. Prime's talking about with Shedeur Sanders, where, well, I don't want to coach if I'm not coaching him. Well, if he stays in Colorado, he ain't going to coach him, because Shedeur ain't going to be in Colorado no more. And I don't know what the move is going to be right there, but I do think if Jerry makes that call, he's going to jump on it, and it's going to be a circus.
Well, McCarthy's not going to the Bears, so that changes things.
Yeah. Suddenly that shitty ass Detroit game plan is making more and more sense now as the wheels have started to fall in place. And I'm sorry, Detroit. I know people love Detroit. Our man Steve Sims is probably the only true Detroit fan that I know, other than Chip Brown, a friend of mine with Horns 24/7. Those are true Detroit Lion guys. Aaron Glenn leaves, and if he leaves, and now Ben Johnson's going to a rival, the crying coach over there, he's going to have a hell of a time. He's going to have a hell of a time keeping that train on its rail.
But damn, he's done a great job, though.
Well, he has, and good for Detroit. I mean, I can tell you. But so why are people not? Why are people not? You remember Terrell Owens when the Cowboys, and I'll also say Lamar Jackson. Why is the whole narrative of Lamar after yesterday? Well, Lamar did his part, which he did, but they lost again. If that's Dak Prescott, can you imagine what's going on today, Bobby? Well, here it is again. They lost. Baltimore lost.
Problem is that tight end Andrews is really good at what he does. He's a clutch player, but he just was not very clutch yesterday. Because you knew. I even called it. I was over at the in-laws house. I'm like, watch, they're going to toss it on this 2-point conversion. They're going to go toss it to the bottom, to the tight end right here on the bottom, number 89. Sure enough, they did, and then he just plumb ass drops it. So yeah, that's okay. I didn't care who won that yesterday, as long as they found a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. That's all I cared about.
Well,
I noticed your new Kansas City helmet behind you.
You like that? That was a gift. I mean, because now, I spend so much time in Missouri. I've even I'm wearing my Chili Bowl shirt today, and I'm not doing this because I came back from there. I'm wearing this because I'm cold. We don't turn the heat on in this house. It's got to be really, that snow that we were talking about, Bobby, I think we finally turned it on day 3. So yeah, it gets cold around. Yeah, I'm kind of digging Kansas City. I mean, it's hard to not root for a winner. You know what I mean? It's gonna be. It's gonna. No, it wasn't from Milton. Wasn't from Milton. I saw Milton on Facebook. He was gonna order a Little Caesars pizza. It's gonna cost $11, and by the time he had, did you see that delivery fees and all that? It's gonna be $24. Come on, Milton, just go out and get it, dude. It ain't that cold. Go get
I
it.
mean, it's not yet. There's no ice on the road yet.
Yeah, it ain't that cold yet. On the show in about 6 minutes, we're going to talk to Owen Pittman. He's going to join us from the South Texas Race Ranch. We'll get his thoughts on what may be going on in his world. So we'll talk about that as we venture in here once again after a Chili Bowl, after Speed Fest. Bubba Pollard, Bobby, that guy right there. I was kind of checking in at different intervals there as that race was going on, and I did not think that Bubba Pollard was going to win that race. It seemed like every time that I looked, it was Cole Butcher there on the point for the longest time. But I mean, when it's all said, another one. What is that? 4 in a row.
4 in a row
for King Bubba, and when it comes down to it, I mean, that's just. We look at all the great race drivers that you look around the country, and again, you're going to dive into the folks are going to say the NASCAR guys, the Formula One. Obviously, Kyle Larson is a guy that is just amazing, but Bubba Pollard is just that's a special talent right there, and I love that because he's just so. Bubba Pollard's just like you and me. I mean, you and I both talked to that guy,
and just a regular dude.
Just a regular dude. Just a regular dude. It's like I got to tell you, one of the proudest moments that I've ever had is standing around in Pensacola, and I'm standing there, I get a hit on the shoulder, and I turn around, and Bubba Pollard's standing there and hands me a 24 ounce beer. He's like, drink that. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So he's just a regular guy, but
he hangs down there in the hood during the Snowball Derby.
Mm-hmm.
You go down in the hood. He's down there by that big bonfire and that big DJ trailer down there, the big long white trailer that stays there all year.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun hanging. He's just sitting there. It's 12 o'clock. He's got a race at high noon the next day, and down there drinking and partying with the rest of us, just like those old school NASCAR guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's we'll talk about this in a little bit, maybe after Owen's done. Kind of touch on that because. That's the one thing that I've really kind of taken out of the Dome, but I really saw it more with the Chili Bowl is the whole, and I mean we can kind of start the conversation right now and get our viewers and listeners kind of interacting on this as well as we go, but like when you go to a big pavement race, and again they're great. I mean the Rattler, the All American 400, I mean the Winchester 400, all the different races. Those, while the intensity is very good, the Derby, the intensity, the stories are really, really good. They feel like those feel like business meetings to me, to where it's like everybody's there with a job to do, and the fans are there to kind of keep their eye on everything. But when you go to some of these big dirt events, and I think I talked about this on Dirty Air, to where you go to these big dirt events, those people are there to have a good time. And I think I finally realized, because I see that a lot of folks say, well, dirt's better, asphalt's better, which that's not the debate right now. But it's like these big dirt races are just a hell of a lot more entertaining, it seems like to me.
Well, it depends on when you have jet fighters inside a goldfish. Goldfish Bowl. I mean, it makes it happen. I mean, you're running late models and modifieds and different things of the like inside of a dome stadium, in a racetrack that's smaller than a football stadium. You're going to have the close action, and you're not going to have any time off. Whether you're looking at first and second or eighth and ninth, you're going to have guys running over each other, especially there at the Dome. And then you see it as you get further along in the alphabet soup down there at the Chili Bowl. So I just think that it just becomes a way of the nature of the beast. When you have that many cars on that small of a track, it's bound to happen.
Yeah. And I think the thing about it is, because you look at it, and I think you my man, just hit on the point, because I have said, and this is only my opinion, that when you go to the Derby, because I saw my man Ryan over there from South Alabama Speedway, that he had mentioned. He kind of did the Snowball Derby greater than the Chili Bowl, and whatever. I mean, those are two staple events. But when you go back and you look at the Derby, I think you and I both agree that one of the best races, the absolute best races that you're going to find that weekend is the last chance qualifier, because that's when it's like white knuckle, balls to the wall. You got 50 laps to try to get yourself in the race. And I think that's where dirt is different, because it's constantly that, where you have to keep trying to improve. And I think that is the difference. And these indoor events, that's a great point right there. When you kind of circle them all down, I mean, the late models are about to go to Volusia, and I think that's going to be off the cuff as well. And it really is to where I'm beginning to understand from a fan perspective, because that's what I am now. I'm a fan. When I go to these races, I mean, I have no rooting interest in any of these people. I'm just there as a fan. And as a fan, I was thoroughly entertained at both of those events.
Well, I think that it's part of its perspective, because then when you're in there as a fan, you don't concentrate on much on the little things
Right.
on the operation side like
Right.
we have for the last 25 years.
Exactly.
When we go somewhere, you're like, God, this is too much dead air. Oh, God, this guy said that. Or why are they doing it this way?
Yeah.
You sit there because you're on the operation side so much, doing what we do with announcing and all that stuff, with sometimes the race management type of deal. But still, I think that it's different when you look at the aspect of a fan. Hell, I may end up going to Coda as just a fan this year, depending on what everything shakes out. But yeah, I think that when your mindset changes, you're able to kind of come through and have a different view. A 5,000 foot view versus the magnifying glass view. So I also think that it's kind of nice when you go in as a fan, because you don't anybody asking you questions. You're like, oh hell, I don't know, and you can actually legit say, hell, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I don't care. It's one of those things where even in kind of with the Chili Bowl thing, the other thing or other topic of conversation that I wanted to touch on is that something that we talk about a lot on this program with the whole streaming aspect. Well, we had that again. We had another streaming incident on Saturday where Flo was running that event, and they had a problem. And it frustrates me it frustrates me a lot that I saw a lot of people immediately going to social media, Facebook especially, to where it's like, come on, Flo, you're killing me here. You're doing whatever. Odds are, if you're watching that event, if you're watching the Chili Bowl, subscribe to Flo, that you like Flo Racing page, right? What did Flo do? As soon as they saw the problem, they go straight to YouTube. Free. It's right here. Here's where you go.
And it stayed on the whole time. They didn't. Now, except having to preview it, I think they didn't have enough time to change the graphics, because they kept saying, check out the free preview the whole time. But when I flipped over there at the beginning of the first B main, by the time I got home and was able to watch it, they ended up, it had 55,000 people watching it live. And that was for the Bs. There's no telling what it ended up being for the A main.
Yeah.
But I will say the downtime between the second B main, the track prep, and the A main this year for the Chili Bowl was a lot better.
Yeah, it was.
Normally, man, you're dragging ass on that deal, and you're like, you text back and forth and can read 3 or 4 chapters in a book like AJ Brown on the sidelines at a football game. But it's like, you sit there, but this year seemed a little different. Although a little bit more content and stuff, but I mean, that is Flo's Super Bowl.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
for it to quit working in the middle of their Super Bowl on the day that it matters the most, that's rough. But then again, we've been there. Shit happens.
Of course. And the whole thing is where, and I posted this, in the most respectful way that I could, the other night, because I'm sitting here, I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, oh, okay, people, quit complaining. Flo has told you where to go. Quit sitting here saying, well, if you don't get this fixed, Roscoe P. Coltrane. Click the link. It's right there. Just quit bitching. Fix it.
If you figure out how to get on your smart TV to get to the Flo app, you can get on your smart TV and go to the YouTube app.
It's simple. They give you a damn code, QR code. Click that shit. Go. It's like, it's the immediate bashing of, I don't care if it's Racing America, Flo, IMCA TV, whatever the hell that's called, and Race on Texas. I don't care. quit beating them up. If you really want to watch it that bad and they're telling you where to go, just go. Just click it. And then if you're going to bitch about wanting a refund, send them an email. Don't put it there. I mean, these streamers are these streamers are giving you a service. These streamers are saying, and for the folks, I saw some folks where it's like, well, the flow price is outrageous. Well, if you're, I saw somebody in Michigan post that the flow thing is the price is too much, whatever. Okay, so what's it going to cost you to drive to Oklahoma or fly to Oklahoma for 7 days, 5 days, whatever it is? I mean, just watch it. They're telling you where to watch it. It's right there for free. I don't know, man.
Yeah, people are just so one-sided and self-sided here lately. You can't see past the end of your nose a lot of times here with some of this stuff. So, but I mean, it's so. It's part of the nature of the beast nowadays, just because you have the instantaneous gratification on most things.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're inconvenienced because I mean, if you're watching, it goes. I saw that, and some of the things I was sitting there thinking, you're watching on a smart TV. Switch the damn app over.
Yeah.
Just switch the app. You're already on a smart TV. People bitch about that. It's like you're watching something on the internet. The internet's not always stable. Our internet goes out during the middle of the show sometimes when it's not stable. And sometimes like that, especially in this day and age, the digital age, shit happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just that instantaneous. Just because of the fact that you're able to get on social media at your house on your internet and bitch about the service going down doesn't mean that it makes it right that the service went down. I mean, yeah, I guarantee you there were execs over there that were shitting their pants. It happens to all of us. When our service goes out and we're sitting here trying to get the show on, we shit our pants. So we know that's what was going on over there at the HQ over there at Flow. Same thing happens to Race On. Same thing happens to Racing America when something doesn't go right. Like, it just becomes one of those issues to where, technology's there, but it's no different than when the signal goes out on Fox. It just doesn't happen to go out on Fox as much as it used to what time before.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just it happens. It happens everywhere. You just don't see it a lot.
Yeah. And I saw Owen Pittman coming up here in just a couple of minutes. He's in the waiting room. We'll get him on here in just a minute. But it was the other part of that was, when kind of the backside of that was so Flow gives you the place to go watch it when there's a problem. And it's like, oh, well, if they can if it can be on YouTube that easy, then why isn't it
they have it for free? Yeah. Why was it always there?
Yeah. Why isn't it always on there for free? I mean, come on, man. That's a business. I mean, they're operating a business. It costs them a lot of money. I don't give a rip if you can go to a weekly show and whatever the streaming company is that's setting something up there, it costs them a lot of money. I mean, whether it be just the internet connection thing in and of itself. And it's not, I mean, you get a lot of these companies. I mean, if you're rolling out there, if you're rolling up with a hotspot, you're doomed. I mean, because that's your problem right there. If you're going to go try to stream something with a little bitty old hotspot, you're in trouble, because every AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, I don't care, Cricket, whoever it is, there's a lot of people on that network, and that hotspot ain't going to do it. So that's your own problem. But when it comes to an event like that with Flow, they've got multiple connections and different things. I mean, I've seen the setup that Racing America used to do at the Derby to try to get all that shit done and get all those people. They're paying those people to go there. That's a lot that goes into that. Well, just do it for free. Well, okay. Well, I got $100 in my pocket. Let me just give you this. Yeah, I don't need this money. Here you go. Come on. I mean, it's. Oh, Lord.
The only really good show with a lot of content that's on YouTube for free is our show.
That's right. And RevvedUpSportsShow.tv. It's right there. And I mean, look it up. We're right there. All right. Let's go diving in here. We're into the cold time in Texas. Well, cold time everywhere. It's going to be a cold time all across the Gulf Coast, apparently, it seems like. And we're going to welcome in our man. He's way down south, though. Well, we lost him there for a minute. I think we're having a little bit of a problem there with connecting with him. I'm going to send him over another link. But oh, there we go again. So we'll try it again. I think we have him now as we dive in right there. Look at that beautiful face right there. It is the man, Owen Pittman. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, guys?
Doing well, my man. Doing well. Is it cold down there?
I got shorts on with a Peyton Taylor hoodie. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. I'm wearing pajama pants as we speak right now. So not a big thing. So
He's wearing pants.
Yeah. I do want to ask you to tell us about your trip down or over to Tulsa. I know I saw you out and about over there. Kind of a quick hitter right there for you.
Yeah, it was an in and out. I tell you what, we drove up. I picked up Billy Mazzell in Frankston on the way up. We enjoyed the Chili Bowl one night, dropped off a trophy to Twisted Tech, turned around and drove back home. Missed our exit on the way home. Too much BSing and not paying attention. Got a ticket about a mile after I missed it. So I was on a road I didn't even belong on and got a ticket doing 82 and a 65 in Oklahoma. And then we turned around and went back 12 miles and got on the right road and went home.
Nice.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, at least there's only 82 and a 65. I know you like to drive pretty fast, so only 82 is probably a good thing. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
the question is, I mean, what were you? Was it Billy being distracted, making his memes on the way home, or y'all just that deep in bullshit through there?
Mostly deep in bullshit. I think I was digging through my phone because I was trying to show him that new that light receiver, the receiver with the light that goes in the car now, and you can control it. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So I was like, "Hey, have you seen that?" And he said, "No, I hadn't seen that." So I was digging in my phone, I think, trying to do that instead of paying attention, and just come off the turnpike, which was 85 miles an hour. So I was on cruise control at 83, and I went right by a cop that was in a 65-mile-an-hour zone. So anyway, it was fun. The racing was phenomenal. Just the one night of it. Of course, I watched every night on Flow, but the racing was phenomenal for sure.
Your thoughts on that main event right there? I know with everything that Larson did in that race, I mean, pretty massive job. The couple of different times, getting through the wreck right there, and then the dude should have flipped over. I mean, but I know it was kind of one of those things, Owen, where I was talking to people after the races. They're like, "Well, he fucking started on the pole." I'm like, come on, man. The dude is just that good. It ain't like he didn't have the best of the business right behind him.
Yeah, he earned it. So he raced his ass off. You can't hold that against him. And equipment wise, I felt like he struggled. His driving is what kept him in the game all week. In his prelim night, I definitely didn't think he was the best car. Nope. But his driving made that happen. So the guy's obviously incredible. And the feedback to his crew chief, obviously, to be able to make the car better all week was an important piece. So you can't ever count him out in anything. So, I mean, we all know how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and is Larson's transition from being a folk hero on the local short tracks and then being a NASCAR star, do you think that's helping short track racing anywhere? I mean, is there going to be a direct correlation you can see from guys like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, some of those guys going to these dirt races? Is that helping local dirt racing on a local level?
It damn sure doesn't hurt, right? So I think it's a positive. I think the ability to connect those guys to someone that's a NASCAR fan to go, wow, man, them guys are going out and doing this. I'm going to go check out my local dirt track, see who's out there. It might be a big positive, So the ability to connect to that's pretty important. And that's what we'd all like, from promoters on dirt tracks, local short tracks, even Houston. We'd like to be connecting our drivers to the fans, so they have something to cheer for. That's pretty important. So yeah, I would like to think that it helps, and it's pretty important. I told Billy on the way home that the biggest thing that ever happened to Larson in my mind was he said the wrong thing one time. And then he got kicked out of NASCAR, and all of a sudden the whole world's upside down compared to where it was before that bad word and what he did there. So pretty incredible how life changes, and how much things have changed. So, but anyway, yeah, you're right, Bobby. I think there's a good connection there.
Yeah, it really is. And it does remind me a lot of like in the pavement days, when you had, the Allison brothers and Darrell Waltrip and these guys, Butch Lindley. I mean, these guys that would go off and run big asphalt races. I mean, it really did. I mean, because when you go to these races, Chili Bowl, for example, I mean, you can't just walk up. Kyle Busch is there. You can't just walk up and bullshit with him. But I mean, it is, you're like right there within eye shot of him. You might get to shake his hand, you might get an autograph and all that. And I think that is something that's pretty important that I'd love to see, because with pavement, Chase Elliott does it, William Byron, these guys are getting better with doing that, to where I think that's where pavement does need to get better, that they need to draw those guys in and kind of let them be one of the people, let them be one of the people. I think that's something that's kind of missing a little bit.
Yeah. I always had a story where we got done at the races one night there. We went to the Waffle House in Tulsa, and Tony Stewart and his crew chief and two ladies who were with him come walking in, sat down in the booth. And it was just us, me and three other guys just there having a good time at the Chili Bowl. And then they all walk in, and one of the guys with us kind of starstruck. We were like, dude, they're just here to have breakfast like us. So let's leave them alone. And, all right, yeah, okay. And we waved at him on the way by, and then Tony Stewart was like, have a good night, guys. That was the end of it. But it was pretty cool to see Tony Stewart in the Waffle House. I'd imagine after most NASCAR races, he's in a helicopter going somewhere way far away. He's not hanging out at the local Waffle House, in my opinion.
Oh, and I got to tell you guys, Bobby, I got to tell you guys one of the best things that this past week that I was there. So Tony's dad, Mr. Stewart, and I'll finish that here in just a second. He comes walking up. I get to meet him. We're sitting there talking, and he's telling stories. He's talking about Tony as a dad and talking about Leah and all these different things. It's like he's known me for years, just sitting there talking. I introduce myself. He says my name 3 different times as we're conversing right there. So as he's walking off, he's departing, I'm like, Mr. Stewart, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And he's like, hold on, son. Number one, he called me son, so that makes me Tony Stewart's brother. So he's like, son, Mr. Stewart died many years ago. You call me Nelson from here on out. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool right there. I'm like, that is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we've always joked. Me and Mike Riley set up next to Sammy Swindell's parents one night in the rowdy section over there years and years ago, and it was the most awkward thing I've ever done at the Chili Bowl, is sit next to Sammy Swindell's parents, because everybody's booing Sammy and cussing him and saying the F word and sorry, yes. They all hate Sammy, and we're kind of sitting there. We know who they are, so we're keeping our mouth shut. We didn't even cheer for nobody. We were just like, what do you do now? And we always joked that Mike Riley, he sat there and talked to him all night. He's been invited to Thanksgiving dinner every year, but awesome. Yeah, pretty cool. Chili Bowl's neat. You get a lot of different experiences there.
Something else.
Well, speaking of racetracks, obviously you're here for a big reason tonight. We'll transition over back to local short track racing with the reason that you're probably here tonight. I mean, I know Rodney knows, but tell us about you got the Chili Bowl down. Now you've got your promoter hat back on and working on the stuff down at the race ranch. What you got to share with us about the race ranch?
Yeah, we got a big season lined up. I'm pretty excited. The schedule's pretty solid. Pretty excited. I've done a ton of work trying to get this schedule where I want it. I'm going to go to one real quick, Rodney, on the whole Stewart deal.
Yeah.
I got a call that I was pretty excited about. Pretty awkward today, but I don't know if y'all ever been driving along and Ken Schrader calls your cell phone and you kind of go, oh, okay. So you answer it and Ken Schrader says, hey, Owen, how's it going today, man? How you feeling?
Wow.
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm great. And he said, hey, I want to come down there on, I think it's March 21st. Run the cars down there at the track. Can we work that out? I said, absolutely, man. I can get you in there on a Friday night. We can do that Friday all day long. So that was pretty damn cool when Ken Schrader calls your cell phone. And just so happened I have Ken Schrader in my cell phone because we've conversed before, but obviously he had mine and called to just make sure things are going our way. But anyway, as far as the race ranch goes, man, we kicked this thing off with a big Texas Dirt Crown. You should have, there you go, the Texas Dirt Crown. Thanks to Chris Walters and Nathan Moore and all they're doing for that event. That's going to be a great event with those the Elite Outlaw 410s both nights to kick this thing off. Late February, early March, as early as we could get it, really, without worrying about weather too much, Mm-hmm. Then we roll right into another big event with the Dwarf Car Nationals. Rained out last year, but I tell you what, they bring a lot of cars. That's a neat event. We're excited to have that down here at the race ranch. And they're excited, March, they're coming out of a lot of guys traveling from cold areas down to hit the beach in March. So just after spring break, it should be a great event there. And then we roll right into our season. We're going to have, a good amount of races with a lot of racing. We got all kinds of series between stems, the South Texas dirt trucks, the dwarf cars. We're doing some 1,000 to win factory stock. You'll notice we only have 6 factory. 6 factory stock events on our schedule. They're all big paying events. We really struggle with factory stocks in 2024, so we've decided to tone them back and go to fireballs. We got a lot of interest in fireballs down south here, so got a lot of fireball events, and just kind of mixed it up this year and put out a pretty killer schedule. We're pretty excited about leading us down into the South Texas Shootout end of the year, and then we're gonna change it up this year. Me and KR are going to do the inaugural Sparkling City Classic, something we talked about a long time. That might be a 5-day event, might be a 4-day event. It's too early to tell. So it's going to be a big event to wrap up our year in December, as always. That'll be a December event. So a lot going on. Excited to put the schedule out after I'm done talking to you guys tonight.
Oh, and I think one of the things I know that, I've kind of talked to you about releasing schedules with us and so forth. I think one of the things that you have done this year is that yourself and I-37, you guys, because right there on that corridor, from Pleasanton to Corpus Christi, you guys kind of working hand in hand a little bit right there, trying to some of that cooperation right there, because your classes really do coexist. Kind of talk to that part, working with Ray and those guys to kind of make sure that you're kind of giving each other just a little bit of elbow room right there on your race dates.
Yeah, we worked together pretty close on the schedule. I think we had 6 dates originally on top of each other when we both penciled down a schedule, and we both just worked to clean those up to get to where, hey, I'll do this one, you do that one type thing, and get it narrowed down to where we're not racing on top of each other. The feedback I got from most of the drivers here, they like to be able to drive up to 37. It's the closest racetrack on the easiest freeway run there. So that's kind of where they wanted to go. So I just said, yes, sir. And went that direction, called them guys, said, hey, let's try to work together and make the best for both the racetracks we could possibly make. So that's kind of where it fell. That big sprint car event, 410 sprint car, up at 37 on Thursday night. So that just adds to the whole deal. But yeah, there's a lot of tie together between 37 and the race ranch this year.
Well, I think that's something that's missing across the country. Obviously, you got the racetracks in Carolina doing that North Carolina Promoter Association or Racetrack Alliance thing they've got going. So I think it's not unheard of for racetracks to work together when it benefits both racetracks. But you talk about the stress, or I'm assuming there's a lot of stress when you have all these series trying to get their schedules out, like Stims and SUS and some of those other ones, trucks. I mean, it's like your phone's ringing nonstop about these places. The good news is they want to race at your facility. Bad news is everybody's got to try to find something that works for them. How stressful is that as you try to get a schedule rolling for the year?
Super stressful, super difficult, just because you're constantly penciling dates and things, and we're not just sitting around waiting on the phone to ring. So as we're running around in the truck or doing something, working, whatever, we're going, oh man, here comes a call from the dwarf cars, call from the sprint cars, call from this. So yeah, there's a lot of stress in trying to build these schedules out for everybody, just the series as well as the tracks. All that has to come together, and then and I can tell you, it ain't easy. A lot of these series get a lot of praise because they pay a lot of money. They do good. Well, it's every one of us race promoters and racetracks that are going, well, we agree to that purse. We're the ones paying it. The series isn't paying it. We're the ones paying it. So there's a lot of stress in trying to pull all that together from the money side, from the date side, the whole 9 yards, to make sure that we have a good cohesive schedule that isn't everybody on top of each other every night, and dates that make sense in your area too. Like Corpus, man, we try to stay off of the Buck Days rodeo stuff, or this date or that date. And yeah, we got kind of hung out. We got Mother's Day this year, which nobody likes Mother's Day. Ray and them didn't want Mother's Day. I wound up with Mother's Day and weekend, and we've done it before. So it is what it is. We just try to do the best we can after that, and then build something into it that'll bring some people out. So the series really help us have an advantage to promote something that's a good event. Yeah. So that's the beauty of the series. It gives you something than just regular racing. Hey, look who's coming this week, So it should be good.
And Owen, kind of, because I know we have a lot of folks that are checking in, may have just found the show for the first time, and they're not familiar with what you do there in Corpus and Corpus Christi, Texas.
Easy dog.
That's all right. We got him here. Corpus is kind of one of those things where I've always said, obviously, I say it like a broken record with the legacy that is Corpus Christi racing. But it's one of those destination things to where people can go down there and they can turn it into a weekend. I mean, you can catch a big race down there, go stay at that Holiday Inn. You know, you got a racer's rate, and go to the beach, go along, go check out the bars, all that good stuff. I really think that racing in Corpus Christi is kind of at a point right now to where the race ranch has really energized that fan base down there again, because it's pretty electric each and every time. Just a damn regular Saturday night show, you got folks pretty fired up each time they head to the ranch.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that. It was we've had good and bad, right?
Promoter right there. I always tell Owen, I'm like, dude, this is a pretty good show, and he's like, it ain't worth the shit. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I mean it's good and bad, right? So we struggle with the beer license this year, and there's a big promotion behind that. For instance, we do a lot of different stuff. So we had our probably largest crowd I could ever remember in being involved at the race ranch since 2004, 2005 timeframe to kick off last year. So I kicked it off, and I'm going, holy cow, man, this is going to be the monster season of all time, and it kind of just went downhill instead of uphill from there, unfortunately. And nobody's fault, really, just how things worked out. And we had some great racing after that as far as the crowds went. And it kind of dwindled. And we had some beer license issues that they're still trying to work out that affect it, man. I tell you what, people like dollar beer. They like some of the stuff we do here. So we have to circle our wagons and make sure we continue to do that stuff and make this place the best it can possibly be. And there is a lot of competition in Corpus. So, whether you got, hockey, baseball, semi-pro baseball, semi-pro hockey, and just lots of stuff to do. So you have to constantly work at promoting what our game is and what we can put out that people will enjoy. And like I said to Bobby earlier, I think the series add a big deal to that. It's our chance to showcase something other than just normal night racing. And our normal night racing is killer, but the series, if it brings people and then they see the normal night. So lot of opportunities. And I tell you what, the deal is we just got to keep our head down, focused on how do we promote and make this the best it can possibly be every single Saturday night, even during regular race season. It just isn't about those big events. It's every single Saturday night we are open. It's a lot of work to try to make sure it's the best it can be.
Well, I know we're talking about the race ranch, Owen, but you got a pretty cool little deal where I think this is the third year now for the Stars Arena Series thing that you do with the go-karts and the micros and stuff like that. So talk about that. That's coming up here in just a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yes, sir. That's it'll be our fourth year. It's the fourth annual Stars event. So we run every weekend in February with go-karts. We average 100 to 175, 200 entries at each event. Looking forward to kicking that off February 1st, and then we run every single Saturday in February. It's a lot of fun. Got a good group coming the second weekend with a bunch of 500s for the Brandon Anderson Memorial. So we got 500s, 250s, and 125s. If you've never seen those guys race, it's incredible. And then this ain't a big track, so you're inside a building. So we got a lot going on with that, but yeah, we're excited to kick the series back off. We do it every February. We'll continue to do it. We love it, and the kids love it. It's a great opportunity for the kids. Lots of trophies, lots of money paid out over the course of 1 month. It's a pretty big event, and we really enjoy doing it.
For sure. We'll get that race ranch schedule back up here a couple of times before we're done here. But obviously talking about that event right there, in the indoor event. But let's talk briefly about Houston. I know you and I chatted kind of some big thoughts right there. You mentioned asphalt racing earlier as well. I think pretty good year. I think we released that schedule here on the program, but kind of your thoughts with that. It's I think a lot of folks are like, what classes and all this, that, and the other, what's going to happen right there. I think folks just need to realize that it's going to be, what's been going on, because it's a building process right now to where it's like you had the foundation. You're just trying to get this thing built and trying to get car count up and get folks in the stands there at HMP.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it. The asphalt deal's been good. I think we struggled through the middle of last season, and we finished the season off really strong. We have some great stuff this year, including I don't know, Nathan's been working on it to put it out, but we're gonna run the elite non-wing sprint cars on July 5th. And that's going to be a big event, big purse. That's going to be a kick-ass event there. So excited to see sprint cars on the asphalt, and that one's cool. But man, we're doing a lot with these Crown Vics. We're doing a lot with different classes. We're doing a lot just to keep this asphalt thing rolling and growing and doing good and being healthy. And there's a lot of talk of trucks being built or trucks going to be out there and then modifieds. And we know some guys that are coming back. I've talked to Joe Armandia, and it sounds like he's going to be back as well as you got some of the cool kids that are already racing trucks. They're going to move into mods too and stuff like that. So, man, I tell you, asphalt racing's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to have a great year there again. We're working sponsors. I got some great help up in that area, so a lot to do there. But I tell you what, I think it's going to be a good one. We got a couple of like INEX sanctioning, I believe it's called, because we're looking at bringing some bandoleros. A lot of these young kids to get to having some fun with us out there. I'm trying to get 2 of those quarter midget events. We know we have one for sure. I'd like to see a second one because that was a pretty neat deal overall. I'd like to bring them quarter midgets back out there and give them the chance. Them kids had a blast. Things like that. And then, I'll be honest with you, we're like Crown Vics, we're looking at some jumps and things to add to the straightaways just to make it a little more interesting with a Crown Vic. I mean, we're trying to think outside the box to make this thing work and continue to grow, to pack people in the stands. And all that'll do is make it better on all the racing, So got to remember, we kick off with a double truck feature because we didn't wrap up our last year. So they got 2 features opening night. So that should be a really good one.
So we know the challenge of being in a smaller market like Corpus, even though it's a big market for Texas, but overall kind of small. Talk about the challenges of being in such a massive market like Houston. If you just capture just a small percentage of the people in the area within 15, 20 miles of the racetrack, I mean, that's a massive crowd to come in. How hard is that to do in a massive area like Houston, just trying to get just that small piece of the pie over there?
Honestly, most of the time it feels impossible. Just being honest. It's super challenging. And I think the problem there is you feel like it shouldn't be that hard. There's that many people, and we're running a really nice program, a really good show, and yeah, we could have more cars in each class, or we could do this, or we could do that, but we have a really good show, and it feels like, so it's super intimidating because you feel like, man, I should be able to put more butts in the seats every week. So it's super challenging, and there's so much to do in Houston anyway. And, we got to keep our head down. And the nice thing about Houston, there is some sponsor money. There's some good money to be made in Houston to help the program and keep it moving forward. So I'm looking for everything I do in Houston's a longevity piece. It isn't about this week or next week. It's about 5 years from now, still being there doing this with Dean and working together. And we got a great relationship that I think we can build and continue to be there 5 years from now. We just need racers to accept it. I mean, accept it, build stuff, come race with us, and then don't give up. We saw some pretty good cars, some pretty good outlaws and different things that ran with us half the season. Then they disappeared. Then they all went to the snowball. And it's like, well, man, how come we can't keep you guys all coming? Why do y'all want to drive to Florida and not Houston? That's a real struggle. That's hard to understand, Bobby. Honestly, it's kind of like, how do I get more butts in the seats, no matter how much advertising I do or promotion we do, or something tricky that might work really good in Corpus, right? And we're going to try some Easter egg hunts and do things like we do here that actually draw huge crowds there. But some of that we tried didn't work the same. Just didn't work the same. So trying to find that promotion every race to put butts in the seat is absolutely a challenge, even in that market.
Yeah, and Owen, lastly, kind of the one thing that you've mentioned tonight that I think is so important is you can talk about whether it's dirt or asphalt. I mean, let's just say hypothetically that you had a Cars Tour race at H&P, which that in and of itself is going to sell itself. Sprint cars in Corpus. I mean, whatever the case right there. So much of this is when you have a big event, I mean, it's going to bring people in because they're going to come because they follow the series. It's the regular races. I mean, it's the weekly shows, bi-weekly, whatever the hell it is, once a month, whatever it is. Those are the shows where it's really incumbent upon us as, whether we work for the track or do shows like this or or fans, racers, to go out there and tell people, look, this week we have a race. It's not the World Crown 300, but we have a big race event that's going to be happening, because every race is a big race in this sport. And I think that's where we need to like put this charge out to our race fans and racers, to where it's like, you need to help us sell the regular events, because that's the ones where we need people to show up for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see it out of some of the guys. You can go to their Facebook pages and see, hey, we're racing tonight, and they do a good job to help us, and because everybody that sees their friends with that, right? So in Corpus a couple years ago, every person that walked in and said, hey, I'm here to see Bobby Chaffee, well, he got $1 off of that person, and we paid out a lot of money over the process of doing that, and it was a real nightmare to manage, to be honest with you. But the key was trying to get the racers to get more involved with pushing people to come through the gate. And I know a lot of racers feel like, hey, that's the promoter's problem. That's the promoter's job. But at the end of the day, it's all of our job. Every one of us needs to work together. You want more purse money. You want more, fans to race in front of. Well, that's as much the racer's duty to help as it is the promoter's duty to do his. We all want to stay alive. That's the key.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows it, but I don't know if any promoter's getting rich doing this. Maybe Tony Stewart, but he was already rich, so he's probably just losing money because he loves the thing,
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, it looks like the schedule is very entertaining. And I noticed lots of schedules have the sponsor nights on them. A couple of them do. So that's good. That's a good deal for the racetrack. But it looks like 2025 is going to be locked and loaded. You got stems and trucks and sprint cars, late models. Looks like 2025 is going to be rocking and rolling once again down at the race ranch. So best of luck from us at the show. And, I'm sure we'll see you in person and down the road for sure. So.
All right. Well, thank y'all for having me on, and thanks for releasing the schedule as usual. Appreciate y'all doing it, and enjoy doing it with y'all. So we'll keep trucking along here, guys.
Yep, we'll pull it up a couple more times, man. Good luck. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, go Notre Dame. Let's go Irish. Come on.
There it is. There it is.
There it is.
All right, man. Take
I've
care.
been waiting to get off here just to go watch the game, damn it.
Yeah, he's like, shut the fuck up, man. I got to go. All right, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
You bet. There he goes. That is Owen Pittman.
I do need to see the score and see if they're not getting boat raced in the first half.
No, it's actually pretty close. I got to say, 7-7 right now as they just start the second stanza happening there in this national championship game. And a big thanks to Owen for doing that with us. And the cool thing about it is, Bobby, because we have talked, you and I talk obviously a lot, but it was one of those things to where it's like, we really wish that people would utilize this show to release schedules, and that's up to them. And the fact that, Owen has been the one dude that's been the staple that he reached out to me while I was in Tulsa. He's like, dude, I know you're busy, but man, I want to drop my schedule. And that's really, really cool right there. Bobby, you only made $10? Yeah.
I didn't bring that many. Not enough people fit in the trunk of the car to bring all my fan base down there.
I think you were the hypothetical in that whole situation.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What that conversation was. But,
hey, I'd love to get into Crown Vic once or twice in a year. I think that'd be a hell of a lot of fun cruising around the Palace of Power in a Crown Vic. I don't know if I have the testicular fortitude to pop a ramp or not, but I definitely like to sit there and try one of them Crown Vics for sure.
Yeah, no, I ain't doing that. Great thought right here. Been going to the Chili Bowl 12 years, seen a lot of top drivers at the Waffle House and IHOP, most of them. They really are. They really are just like we are. I was very fortunate with this past week with what I was down there for. I got to, Christopher Bell won the race that my company sponsored. So I got to spend some time there with him and talk, and, it was, and I got to tell you, it was one of those things like talking to him again, that's a certified superstar right there. That's a guy that's, arguably going to be one of the guys that could win the Cup championship. But to see him at the grassroots level, once again, the dude seemed really happy to be there, really just, and there were a couple of times, Bobby, I was walking by, he had a small merchandise trailer there, and he's just standing there. You go walking by, and a lot of people, you have random people that don't know who any of these drivers are, that show up there for these things. I mean, they'll go walking by and that he's just there. And I'm like, that's Christopher Bell. He's just standing there. And that's kind of the beauty of that. And I would like to see that reciprocate more back to the asphalt side. But I mean, I know even at the Derby, and this isn't me bashing the Derby and doing different things. When you get these guys going to the Derby and some of these other races, that they don't seem quite as at ease as these guys were at the Chili Bowl.
I think that just more stress at the Derby.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think it's a little more stress at the Derby. I mean, it's not that the Chili Bowl is not stressful. Don't get me wrong. But you're right. It's more of a business trip.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Busch didn't make it out of alphabet soup, and he's like, hell, I had a great time. You get some of these NASCAR guys that don't get out of the last chance race of the Derby, and they're like, holy shit, this sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get, I mean, like Ricky Stenhouse. I mean, he's out there, and it's like, I mean, the whole thought there where he gets tied up there, I guess that was Friday. I don't know if that was Friday or Saturday. It all ran together. But it's like, I mean, when all that happens, I'm like, okay, Ricky, you're a little bit better than that, right? I mean, that's my first thought. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, this weekend you're a short track guy. So, it's a really cool thing. All of these races are great. And it's one of those things to where I think that, I mean, the crossover is really good, that you do see what you call the pavement guys. And that's where it's so weird, because you call them pavement guys because you've watched them on the Cup Series or whatever. But when you really tailor it back, I mean, these guys are dirt guys. And the fact is, I mean, I don't care if they're going back to the Derby. I don't care if they're going back to the damn Chili Bowl or whatever. The fact is that they're going back to that, I mean, I don't want to say local level, but kind of going back to the grassroots thing and just kind of whatever. I think that's good for the sport, because what folks say about NASCAR is they lack personality. They lack the personalities that you had back in the day. I think these guys are energizing that a little bit when they start doing shit like this.
Well, the one thing Kyle Larson didn't say is, sorry, NASCAR, this is the biggest win of my career when he won this time. Of course, the last time he said it, I don't think he'd won a Cup championship yet. So I think his perspective has changed on his Cup career. But also, I think that, the guy that got the most attention, I thought, on social media all week was the guy that played Cooper Norris, that Jacob Laughlin guy, the actor.
That Landman?
The Landman guy.
Yeah.
Like he was there. Like he said, he's been every year for like 13 or 14 years in a row. And he says, this is the first year anybody's even given a shit that he was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I think he was the one. He stole all the headlines. I saw more pictures of him on social media. And then, they did the interview with him. And it was like, well, hell, a new star is born. I mean, that's huge, though. Somebody you see on a multi-million-dollar TV screen ends up being just another one of those guys, just a regular dude like us, just sitting there trying to drink his Mick Ultra and trying to watch the races at the Chili Bowl, not get too much dirt in his beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, that's the other thing right there with that event. I mean, because you see it, and it goes down to the whole personality thing and whatever that we talk about on the pavement side. Bubba, you got Bubba, you got Steven, you got a lot of guys, Nasty, you got a lot of these guys that they are, bigger than life, figures right there. And you have them, when you go to the Cars Tour, I mean, you got a lot of guys there as well that are just, they're really big in that circle. But when you go to these dirt events, I mean, you see these different guys, Tanner Thorson. I mean, there are just so many imposing figures and folks that just travel miles and miles to see their guy or lady. I mean, Katie Bryson. I mean, there are people that just travel around to see this. And I will tell you, the one thing that watching the flow thing, watching these drivers, some of these drivers that go down there and the pit reporters and doing all these different things, for a lot of these guys, if it doesn't work out for them in racing, you got some pretty damn talented people wielding a microphone around there. Those guys are really, really good. I mean, there were a lot of really good pit reporters I saw this weekend.
I liked the guy that during live action flung the bird out the left-hand side of the window.
Yeah.
At full speed, because there's a little extracurricular contact going half of turn number 2, I think what it was, down the back straightaway. So never a dull moment at the Chili Bowl, but definitely one of the races that I've got to get to. Obviously, I've been to the Derby. I need to go to the Chili Bowl and may try to get to the Dome in St. Louis and, some of those other bigger races. So, it'll be a lot of fun. I got another 364 days to worry about how to get there. So
Yeah, Chili Bowl definitely one where I think folks need to kind of get there just to experience it, and it'll change some stuff for you. We talked about Volusia coming up as Speed Week's getting ready. You're going to have New Smyrna that's going to be firing off as well. You'll have all the pavement action that's going to be going there as well. You had the Chili Willy this past weekend as well. It was, this is supposed to be the off season, but you had all these different things going on with Cordeal, and I do want to give a big round of applause right there to Ricky Brooks and everybody. They did a really good job to be able to put that, to kind of boost that program together. I mean, because
but they pulled it a day early, didn't they?
Yeah, they pulled it in a day early. I was there in Tulsa, and I got a text from Alan Dietz, and he's like, check your email. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so it was one of those things where it's like, we need a voiceover. We're going to change this. We're moving it up. Can you produce this? And I was able to do it. I had my shit with me, but it was like, they did a really good job to be able to do that. And Racing America did a really good job to push that out and, get that in front of people, and they got the race in. I mean, that's the most important thing. So, it's the off season, but it doesn't feel like it. It's winding down a little bit, but we're about to fire up again because now we get into February, and that's when we really start cranking.
Yeah, but it seems like there's two events that open up the racing season, and it is the Chili Bowl, number one, and Supercross Anaheim 1. Once those two events hit the TV screen and hit the racing radar, that's when I feel like racing season has started.
Yeah,
it kind of ends at the Derby, right in there. You get a couple of weeks off, and then you get about 8 weeks off right in there. And then when the Chili Bowl hits and Anaheim 1 usually hit about the same time every year, because next you had the Roar at the 24 for mainstream racing. Next week is the 24 Hours of Daytona. Then you got the ARCA cars going to Kevin Harvick's New Kern County Raceway there on the West Coast. So it's racing season's here. I mean, hell, before we know it, we're 2 weeks away from the Clash at Bowman Gray. I mean, I'll be watching it intently on my birthday. So I'll be stuffing my face with birthday cake and watching the Cars and Stars of NASCAR take on one of NASCAR's most famous tracks.
That's going to be a really curious event to watch right there, and some of the changes that have gone on there at Bowman Gray, and that's to embrace that series. I mean, again, this is where we go back to, you get the negative comments about, well, they're doing this and that and the other. I mean, that's part of the thing. I mean, if you're going to have a Cup Series rolling in, I mean, you have to have that happen. So, just let it be done. I mean, just let it be done. Let's get out there and race. Before we get out of here, I do want to ask your thoughts. We saw last week, I think it was during the week, that we saw some of the changes to damaged vehicle policy, the changes there when it comes to like the Kyle Larson situation, to where there's a finite rule on how that would work if it happened again, with losing playoff points and all that. Again, I think this is NASCAR where they're going in and they're finding some of the holes right there, some of the gray areas. They're being I think it's reactive at this point with a lot of that, but at least they're going in and addressing some of the stuff that people are just not happy with. Some of that stuff. I mean, at least now those things are in place as to how 2025 and moving forward is going to shake out with those situations.
Well, I think the DVP policy is definitely one of the ones that needed the most updating.
Yeah.
And I think it got it. I think being able to be towed and being able to work on your car in the garage and come back out is something that people have been clamoring for years, even with the old car, the Gen 6 car. If it's something like, if you got a fender torn off or something, that's fine. That's one thing. But if you break a spindle or you break a control arm or what's the ones in the back?
The trailing arm.
The trailing arm or whatever that one is.
Yeah.
Something that's simple to fix within minutes. Yeah, you don't need to have your car parked for that. I mean, fix it and get back on the racetrack. Yeah, you're a couple laps down, but we've seen at one point, one position on a racetrack can make the difference between transferring into playoffs and making the playoffs. So I think that they kind of put that gray area in there. You now have the Kyle Larson rule about if you purposely miss a race to try to race somewhere else, you don't get any bonus points. Which is kind of weird, because if you end up getting a waiver, you get to keep your points.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little weird to see, but racers and crew chiefs and car owners, we've always said it on the show, they are color blind. They only see the color gray.
Yeah.
And it's the sanctioning bodies and the track's responsibility to start filling in those gray areas to make it go from go from gray to black and white.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of back to Chili Bowl. That was one of those things to where there's not a lot of rules for that race. I saw a 6-cylinder car racing there at the Chili Bowl, and that car was digging out of the hole. I mean, it had it was really weird watching those cars. It had the 3 headers on each side. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I was talking to a dude I was with. I'm like, is that a 6-cylinder? And it just, I mean, the car had nothing coming out of the hole. I mean, it's like it would hit the gas and it's like, where the other ones are just zinging out of there. But anyway, interesting that I saw that. I went and talked to the guy. It was a Chevrolet, I think 2.8 liter engine that was in there, and he's like, I got to get this shit out of here. He's like, it's a dog, it just will not go. But even at the Chili Bowl, with the tire doping, and going in there, the couple of dudes got busted with that. To your thoughts about the gray areas, you had that. Now the traction control thing, they were checking additional wires on the car. What is this for? And I think a lot of folks were, well, they're being too hard on this. I'm like, no. I mean, you have to try to get in here and try to get a little bit of a handle on it, because that gray area is that. But I think with the cup thing, it's a situation to where, yes, the damaged vehicle thing needed to be adjusted. What we saw with the Larson situation, it's always one of those things. We talk about the NFL and how the rules have changed, and with the Chiefs and all that. But the Chiefs and protecting the quarterbacks, why is that? It's the Tuck rule. It's a Tom Brady rule. It's all that. There's one incident that kind of charges everything and makes it happen. But I'm going to be really curious to see here now with NASCAR. And I think the other thing that was really unpopular was the rule with what do they call it? Like for what's his name that's coming in? It's going to drive number 91.
The provisional deal.
Yeah.
They still said there's a chance he's going to miss that race. I don't see how, but
I don't know how. I mean, he should get in. And I see people, it's like, well, you want to talk about accomplished drivers. What about Jimmy Johnson? He's still on a team roster. That's why that is like that. I mean, if Jimmy Johnson was not the owner of a team or wasn't a part-time driver, I think that would be a different thing. I'm not the biggest fan of that rule. The other part, when it comes down to when you start talking about charters and teams making races and all that, other than the Daytona 500, when do you have a surplus of cars trying to get into a race?
You don't
feel the fucking field.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like we get worked up over little things that are, the end result really not important, like the flow thing. They told you where to go watch it. So I don't know. Let's go to Bowman Gray. Let's get racing. I'm tired of talking about all these different things that piss people off all the time. Apparently, it pisses me off too. I'm getting all worked up.
Well, I mean, somebody's going to get pissed off regardless of what we do. So
yeah. So anyway, great program once again for our friends over in Texas. I'm going to find it right there. Right there. There is your South Texas Race Ranch 2025 schedule. As Bobby mentioned right there, you got some good dates in there. You got a lot of variety. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in Corpus, kind of working hand in hand right there with I-37, which is over in Pleasanton, right there in that I-37 corridor. What's that? That's about 120 miles apart. Something
about
like
2
that.
hours.
Yeah, a couple hours. Yeah.
About 2 hours, depending on which side of Corpus you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. And I pulled this up a while ago because I did want to, I pulled it up by mistake, but that is your South Texas IMCA modified schedule that's going to be coming up. That dropped last week, adding Heart of Texas Speedway. You've obviously got Cotton Bowl, Texana, I-37, and the Race Ranch. And I really think that's something that's going to be cool, kind of working out right there. I like the addition of Waco. I talked to Kevin Rogers over the past week, and he's like, this is something we really want to break this thing out. I saw some folks saying, well, you need to come to Kennedale. You need to do all this, that, and the other. I saw some other folks saying, well,
Kennedale ain't got a problem with IMCA modified racing on a weekly basis, though.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you don't want to go in there and try to step on their toes. And the whole thing is, I've seen some of the conversation with the back-to-back where there's lots of travel involved right there. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of miles.
The two Waco races followed by an I-37 race and a Race Ranch race. That's going to be a challenge.
That is a lot. But, the folks that sit here and say, well, I'm going to race, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Well, there you go. I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, that's part of the deal. I mean, if you want to race, they're handing you a schedule with venues that want to have you there. You need to find a way to get there.
I'm
And
interested in a November race because everybody else has two. Everybody's got 2 races. So I wonder where they're going to go on this November 6th and 8th.
yeah, really curious. That's TBA that you see right there. And we are working to have James Cole, obviously our man from On Demand Shirts, try to get him on here and talk a little bit about that, because that series is drastically different. I mean, it started off there with Jacob Horch and his dad and family, and now it's kind of gone into the hands of KR and ODS. And I mean, I think that's some pretty good progress right there. That's going to do really good things for them, I think.
Yeah, I think having an experienced promoter like KR, with the connections he's got all over the state and all over the Southwest region here, I think it'll be nothing but a good problem to have KR on here every once in a while talking about his great modified series.
Yep, absolutely. All right, great program. We got a football game to watch. It's 14-7 with working towards half, so you got a half to go right there. Again, weather the story. You guys bunker in. If you're out in the country, drip those faucets. Open the cabinet. That does work too. Get a little heat in there. See, they never told us that back in the day. It was never.
I got cabinets open now. I got a cat trying to get into the cabinets, but that's all right.
Just don't close that thing. Leave that thing in there,
Mm-hmm.
and be sure and protect your peas. Your pets, pipes, people, penis, and plants. That's 5. That's the 5 P's. That's 5 P's. We added that extra P only right here on #Real Race Talk. Thanks to Owen Pittman for being a part of the program. Thanks to all of you for checking in from around the country and around the world. Bobby, there were people that walked up to me at Chili Bowl and they're like, Revved Up, right? I'm like, yeah. So there you go. One dude walked up, a Texan. He's like, hey, you're Rodney from Revved Up, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, you watch? He's like, no, not very often, but I do know that you come on that show.
Oh, well, I mean, that's half the battle is knowing.
Thanks.
Baby steps.
Thank you for your service. So anyway, and by the way, thank you everyone for your service. All right, Bobby, rest of the week for you, dude. How many days are you going to have off? I bet you're going to be off all week with this weather.
I don't know. I was off today. We were closed today. We're closed tomorrow. I don't know about Wednesday and Thursday, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll probably do a little bit of work tomorrow because I was off on Friday too. So,
well, yeah.
Well, that was a vacation day. So,
yep. Here we go. He was listening. Milton Hope says, "Go Chiefs." Milton, a lot of people saying that your team has a little bit of influence there. Your man Patrick Mahomes. The only problem that I have with all of that was when Mahomes. Again, some of the calls questionable. Obviously, but when Mahomes does I'm going out of bounds. Nope, I'm not. That's the only one where I'm like, okay, that's kind of chicken shit. Come on,
like Kenny Pickett that one time, and when he was playing for Pitt, did the fake kneel and then ran for 50-yard touchdown. So
yeah, it's kind of like an unwritten rule right there, where if you're gonna go out of bounds, the dude's gonna lit up and he's gonna kind of let you whatever. So that was the only one that I had a problem with. Look, when it comes to Mahomes, Brady, I mean Manning, these guys are going to get the benefit of the doubt. So whatever.
Hey, what do you think about the safety to get the spread? Did you and Wax talk about that this morning?
And I'm glad. No, we didn't. I'm glad that. I mean, I don't lay a lot of scratch on these games whatsoever. Which the few times that I do put money on the line, I did say that the Commanders are going to win the Super Bowl. And dude, right now I'm like, as hard as it is for me, I'm like, man, I really want the Commanders to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, that was kind of makes you wonder, right? When you see things like that, it's like when you talk about phantom cautions in NASCAR and stuff, when you see stuff like that, it's like, okay. God. I don't know, man. I don't know. Sports makes us crazy, dude. Makes us crazy. By the way, if you're a bettor, if you don't have that money, don't spend the money you don't have, because that betting, that's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Yeah. So anyway, all right, guys.
Football money. I know I bought some more show props to go behind me here. So,
come on. Why we got to go there?
Yeah, I bought some more fantasy football
Well, we got to do
use
that.
some more. I'm trying to get somebody to help me with some banners to hang in the man cave here with all the championships I've won in our league.
On-demand shirts. I mean, you need to call James Cole. I guarantee you that James Cole can probably get you anything. James Cole, 317 Awards can probably get you banners, trophies. They'll get you all that. They'll
Yeah,
get
no, I guess I need to reach out with the racing resources, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. They don't care if it's football, choir, whatever they will take care of you, all those folks. Really, really good stuff. I've seen some of the on-demand shirts the couple times that I went down there to tour the facility, and they have everything in there. You would the ballet. I saw some ballet shirts in there. I'm like, James, what is that? It's like, that's one of our customers. So yeah, they'll take care of you, man. They will take care of you and take care of all of you. All right, guys. Everyone along the coast here, everywhere. I mean, be warm, I guess.
And send us your pictures of your race cars in the snow.
Oh, yeah. Race car pictures. But tag them.
We'll tag us, or we'll make a post for it about showing us your race cars in the snow, and that'd be kind of fun to see because it doesn't happen along the Gulf Coast all that often.
Yeah, that's right. And as we mentioned, we had a post. I think it was on Facebook to where it's like, look, if you have a racetrack that, Owen dropping his schedule here with us for the race ranch. And once again, there it is. If you have a story at your racetrack with your promoter, influencer, if you're one of those TikTok people that don't have a job right now and you have a great story that you would like us to talk about, we can certainly do that here on the show. RevvedUpSportsShow@gmail.com. We would love to showcase your track. You have a story from your racetrack. You have a driver that really has done exceptional things and overcome odds and doing different stuff. I mean, we would love to talk about it right here on the program. And there's going to be a lot of reach. There's going to be a lot of people. I'm looking at this thing right now. We got 700 people watching this shit live right now with a football game on. So that's a pretty good thing.
A very important football game on.
Very important football game if you're a fan of Ohio State or Notre Dame. So we'll do it again next Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern. We'd love to have you back on. Be sure and check us out on the socials. Showtime Bobby Chaffee. He is down south in the cold. I am Rodney Rodriguez up north in the cold in Texas. We'll see y'all next week. #Real Race Talk. It is the Revved Up Sports Show.